Now, learning institutions, that means schools have become sources of food, not for the pupils or the teachers, but their parents. Good evening, this is Prime Edition. First things first, the highlights. A humbling predicament. Learners in Kajiado are forced to share food with parents as hunger drives the guardians into schools in Kajiado County. Damnation without relief. Drought pushes schools in Migori County to the brink, and some teachers are leaving in search of greener pastures. And exit Githi Mburo. Former KRA Commissioner General bows out. Good evening, I'm Regina, Manyara, and this is Prime Edition. Our sign language interpreter is none other than Lady Lucy Mora. We welcome your feedback. You can get us on Twitter, an official station handle at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle is at Ray Manyara. Now, dozens of starving parents from drought-hit areas in Kajiado County are sneaking into nearby schools for free lunch. Most of the parents and the elderly have been left vulnerable after losing their livestock to the ongoing drought.
The true meaning of the idiomatic saying, "a dying man will clutch at a straw," is vividly revealed here at Il Bisil Boarding Primary School in Kajiado Central. This dry and dusty ground tells a story of a region hard hit by drought. One after the other, the elderly line up alongside pupils for free lunch.
Lunch hour. Unapata baadhi ya wanafunzi wakiwa kwa raini, wazazi ndio hawa, nao wanaingia kwenye lango kuu, nao wanapaga raini. Na kwa vile kuna ile heshima ya mzazi, hatuwezi warudisha kamwe. Tunawakubalia wanaingia na sahani na tunawapa chakula kama watoto kwa vile kiangazi kimewaumiza.
The drought has wiped out their livestock and they have nothing to eat at home. As the sorting of maize and beans happens on the other side of the school, some parents scramble for discarded maize and beans. The parents maintain that the drought situation has subjected them to this embarrassing situation.
Anakufa ng'ombe, mbuzi amekufa, punda, hakuna kanyumba kitu yote. Hakuna ninya anafaa nguo, hata viatu, hata watoto ya shule, anakaa nyumbani, hakuna chakula.
They say they are desperate for help.
Kujaga shule kutafuta chakula kwa sababu njaa imezidi, ng'ombe ameisha, jua imezidi, badala ya kwenda kuiba inakuja kula na watoto.
The school head teacher Daniel Lantai says the school is running out of food.
Saa hii hatujapokea chakula yote kutoka kwa wafadhili. Kwa hivyo hii ration hata tunapatia the scholars ina threaten inaleta changamoto kwa boarding, maana itaisha kabla ya siku. Na hata saa hii fees, wazazi hawalipi fees. Tumetegemea low cost ya serikali, na ndio tu tumetumia kununua chakula na labda kulipa watu na maji na stima.
According to network meta-analysis data, more than 400,000 families are facing starvation and more than 1 million animals have died. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Now, still keeping up with the dry weather condition is that the extreme weather and lack of food as well as water is pushing some teachers from their workstations in Nyatike, Migori County. The teachers are opting out of the region and moving to other areas for survival, with others seeking transfers. But that is not all. Poor infrastructure in some schools has left learners badly exposed to the vagaries of the weather and a workforce that simply won't withstand certain extremes.
Nyatike, Migori County. The sun is never in short supply here. But the scorching heat is gradually taking its toll on those not strong enough to survive. Those with nowhere to go have had to contend with the harsh reality. Dry water pans and their unending search for water. Kangaunditi Primary School and neighboring schools have found themselves stretched to the limit because no teacher wants to face the obtaining hardship.
Hapa maisha ni ngumu, Tukipata walimu kutoka nje ya Nyatika sub county wanafunza tu kwa muda mfupi kabisa na wanatafuta transfer. Wakienda makwao hakuna walimu wanaletwa hapa, kuna replacement inafanywa.
Kuna kiangazi, hata kwa sasa mali tunaongea jua inawaka sana na walimu wameogopa kuja hapa kufunza hapa.
The situation at now in the area is so hot, hostile and they cannot manage. That is why the teachers from Homa Bay County, the teachers from other sub-counties decided to go back to their respective counties.
With a population of between 350 to 400 learners, the schools are said to have less than 10 government-employed teachers each. To salvage the curriculum, parents are pleading with the Teacher Service Commission to localize the employment of teachers.
Sasa sisi tungeonelea vizuri kwamba wangetuajiria hao watoto wetu wenye wamezoea hii maisha yetu, ndo tusiwe na shida ya kuomba walimu.
Naomba tu serikali kama ataweza adikilea Nyatika sub county kama hardship area.
In Kakrau Ward, the school management board of Mabubi Primary School is pleading with the county and the national government to come to their rescue and fix the dilapidated school infrastructure. Parents say the school is in a very bad condition. The administration block and many of the classes are made of mud structures.
Hata sasa walimu choo ni moja, walimu wanasema choo na watoto. Hiyo zole yetu ya hapa Kenya. Ukiingia hapa Mabubi unaweza kukimbia. Hata ukiona hata jikoni tu ya kupikia walimu zole chakula. Mbaya.
Mabubi, which was established in 2006, had registered 35 students from junior secondary, but only 25 of them remain. The parents want the Teacher Service Commission to move with speed and address the lack of junior secondary school teachers here.
Last week, there was a teacher who came here to help us in junior secondary section. When the teacher arrived here, the teacher disappeared. Why? Because of the condition of the school. To the bodies that are concerned, starting with the national government, kindly intervene, Mr. Our area MP, Junet Mohamed, Governor, area MCA.
Lensio Kware, Prime Edition.
President William Ruto says his administration will respect the operational and financial independence of the police. Speaking during the opening of Border Police Hospital in Kitui, the head of state noted that his government will continuously enhance resources available to constantly professionalize, train and equip the security officers to undertake their mandate.
President William Ruto on Thursday commissioned a police hospital at the Border Patrol Unit campus in Kanyonyo, Kitui. The police hospital will be a huge relief for the service.
Welcome to the campus. Yes.
The head of state underscored the role played by the officers and the sacrifices they make in order to keep criminals at bay and keep Kenyans safe.
The government fully recognizes the National Police Service as a critical institution that is indispensable to peace, security, law and order, which in turn are necessary conditions for all human endeavor, including the pursuit of sustainable development and shared prosperity.
By equipping the said officers with modern land and air weapons, the president said the state will boost ongoing efforts to curb insecurity across the country while safeguarding the lives of security personnel in the line of duty.
I have already asked the Minister for Interior to work with the IG of the police on a modernization program that is going to see the government of Kenya spend an extra 20 billion shillings to improve both land and air facilities and equipment for our police service to be able to deliver on their mandate.
This facility here, the Kanyonyo Border Police Campus and Training Center, is supporting the operations that we have in the northern part of Kenya, mainly border patrol and surveillance, and also the officers who are helping us with counter-terrorism measures, and also finally the officers increasingly now whom you have deployed to assist us to deal with the problem of banditry.
Ruto has assured the officers' members that they and their family members will get comprehensive medical insurance cover. With a contribution of 50 shillings from each junior officer, the Administration Police Service started the construction of the Border Police Hospital in Kanyonyo, Kitui County.
Women leaders say they are confident that the wind has finally found their sail in their quest for gender parity in elective and appointive positions. Led by a host of elected lawmakers, the women have expressed confidence that the executive led by President William Ruto is more than willing to rally Parliament to pass the elusive piece of legislation. Ruth Wamboy with more.
For more than a decade, Parliament has fallen short in attempts to pass the two-thirds gender principle into law.
This agenda that has been there for many years, many years. And I think the women, our trailblazers who are there, will be very proud to see that we have finalized, and they will see, and you'll see the difference when we have now women coming into Parliament on elective positions, appointive positions in government, and how we can transform our nation, Kenya.
We need to get it right in this short period that we have for a better future. We all know where the original seed was planted, that is the societal and cultural effect which saw women being sidelined, but now it is time that we ascend into power and make decisions together with our counterparts who are the men in Parliament.
While there have been calls for a change in strategy, some quarters believe that there is a deliberate attempt to hand women leadership on a silver platter. Women leaders say the latter is far from the truth.
In 10 years' time, the two-thirds gender rule shall be used to increase the number of men in Parliament. I can tell you that. I have a conviction and I believe. Because the way the country is going, I know that today 60% of the women in law school, the persons in law school are women.
To ensure their gender rights into the sunset, women leaders say they want the support of the executive and their male counterparts.
If not to say anything else, to give you my highest assurance that as leader of majority, I will do anything and everything within my power to mobilize my male colleagues, to talk to our female colleagues, to ensure that we do actualize this two-thirds gender rule.
The Kenya Kwanza government campaigned on the platform of women empowerment, and women leaders believe that the time is right to hold the government to its word. Ruth Wamboy reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, indeed, we will wait and see what happens. Now, Homa Bay County Senator Moses Kajwang has accused the government of giving up on the war against corruption. Kajwang says the recent remarks by Auditor General that illegally acquired wealth should be invested locally is defeatist and points towards a weakening onslaught against graft.
If there was no safe space to hide, to stash, or to invest, and thereby giving legitimacy or laundry services to illicit financial flows, where would this illegally acquired and stolen money be kept? Perhaps we should start a campaign that now speaks, and I may sound as if I'm saying this in jest, but I'm very serious about it. We should start a campaign that says, if you steal it and you're able to get away with it, invest it in the country where it is stolen. Steal it from Kenyans, invest it in Kenya. It sounds very strange, but perhaps we could then see development taking place in our country. And then later we ask the questions, where did you get it from?
This remarks by the Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has been the subject of debate in the ongoing war against corruption. While Gathungu believes there is need for a change in tact, the opposition argues that the government has lost the resolve to exercise the ghost of corruption. Senator Moses Kajwang says there is need to breathe fresh air into the war against graft, and the government must show commitment that it is determined to win the war.
Whereas we still believe that the OAG remains a honest public servant and a committed watchdog, it is baffling why she would throw in the towel and give a visa to corrupt hyenas at this time when Kenyans are suffering major economic crisis. We can only hypothesize that her frustration coincides with the ascent to power of the new regime. Since Kenya Kwanza took over State House, many of the institutions mandated to fight corruption have faced harassment and similar disillusionment.
I, Honorable Shadrach John Mose.
Meanwhile, the nominee for the position of Solicitor General Shadrach Mose has pledged to reverse the trend of the government losing landmark cases if approved by Parliament.
You will recall, government did lose the BBI case. You will also recall again, the government also lost the NMS case, and quite a number of cases that the government has been involved in. Sometimes one would wonder, is it that the government doesn't have proper advice from the AG's office?
If I am given an opportunity, we can even do what we call post-judgment negotiations, see what can be, taken off, what is, of course even the interest is legitimate, but because some are so huge, you can be able to see what you can do so that both parties at the end of the day stand to benefit.
While appearing before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the nominee was also tasked to explain the strategies he will use to ensure that the government does not borrow high-end loans.
A few of the agreements we have gone into seems to be very unfair and oppressive to this country to the extent that we are even ceding our sovereignty.
What is your view of those in the government who believe that government services and opportunities should only be shared to those who voted for them?
I would assist the president to ensure that he delivers on the mandate of service to the Kenyans. I deliver. The greatest pride I will take is when we will have served this country with the distinction and serving all Kenyans without discrimination, without fear or favor.
The former Kitutu Masaba Member of Parliament is looking to replace Kennedy Ogeto as the country's Solicitor General. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Now that takes us to the first break this evening. Do not go away. We have so much lined up for you, including stories that are making headlines in the business circles.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
It's not a good Mrs. Kenya when you talk like that. You must listen to your husband. You don't listen to your husband.
Okay, no, I listen to my husband.
No, you just told us.
Now we are back again
when you decide on the
so
children.
if he tells me jump into a hole, I should jump into a hole.
Yes. When a rat is about to jump ship, then you don't understand ships or rats.
So what the rats and the you just called him a sheep. You just called him a rat.
I didn't call him a sheep. I said You don't understand. I didn't call him a rat.
If I don't understand,
It's a literary analogy.
Okay.
Me and these are not Jalas's children.
You're not jealous. You are.
No, you are a Costarian. You're the ones who like seeing yourself as children. You are Nairobi. This is LA. This is LA.
I'm Marie Yangbo, here in the southern parts of the country in Oloitoktok, where, as you can see, farmers have lost their crops to the ongoing drought. Some families are even feeling the pressure to marry off their girls for an income. That story coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealize hajamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuja hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the trio sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
Want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Thiambo.
You know, I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me. The Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono too. Say that
again. Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
Good evening, you're watching Prime Edition and I am Regina Manyara. Now we speak business, where the Kenya Revenue Authority has picked Rispa Simiyu as the Acting Commissioner General to replace Githi Mboro. I read out from the KRA Chair Anthony Mwaura has said Mboro resigned today to pursue personal interests. The former Commissioner General was plucked from KRA's Intelligence Department in June of 2019 following the retirement of John Giraini. Mboro was hailed for leading a sting operation in the Revenue Agency in 2018 that led to the arrest and prosecution of a number of employees who were engaged in various tax malpractices. We'll be keeping tabs on that change of guard at the helm of the taxman's base, that is the Kenya Revenue Authority. Now, the government might shut down the Turkana crude oil project if the field development plan presented in the next 30 days does not give assurance of commerciality. Petroleum and Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill says the project has stagnated over the past 5 years despite oil wells of Turkana showing availability of 504 million barrels of crude oil. He says there's need for a multi-agency approach in drafting of a new field development plan.
If the cost of commercializing the product is more than the revenue we are going to earn when we take the product to the market, then it doesn't make sense to pull out the product. So I've seen your graphs of first oil plateau and going down. Plateau almost within 5 years. That means hiyo mafuta ni kidogo sana. You need to work quickly with your technical team, with your economist, to review the commerciality and the technical aspects of this project. I don't think there'll be a farm out that will be willing to put their 4-5 billion to support the development of this asset.
We will also be able to develop a framework of monitoring costs because these costs are indeed cost recoverable. We need to work jointly between ourselves to monitor the costs in terms of the contracting process that the contractor will be going through. Once we then review this, we will then move on to a final submission of this FDP to the Cabinet Secretary, And as I said, by operation of law, the Cabinet Secretary will be required to take a determination on this within 30 days, after which the field development plan will then go to Parliament, and Parliament will have 60 days within which to make a determination, after which we will then have an approval with or without amendments or a rejection of the field development plan, as the case may be.
Now, governors have committed to set up industrial and aggregation centers in their respective devolved units to boost value addition to agricultural produce. Investment and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, who was accompanied by governors on a tour of Tatu City in Kembe County, said the move will facilitate an export-led economic model. He says Tatu City is a good model of how counties can set up mixed-use industrial parks to drive Kenya's industrial and exports growth.
National government and county government, we stop opening too many small shops. We go to one county, do one thing meaningful, and by the way, for some of the counties, the entire economy can revolve around this industrial park. So we want to synergize. That's why the president has put in money, seed capital of 100 million shillings per county. I'm sure governors today they are going to open up their checkbooks and add to this money.
Each county can establish their own industrial park where whatever they produce, whether it's milk, coffee, avocado, tea, that they have a place where they can go to add value to process. And so the idea here today is for the governors to learn.
As a start, also governors are putting out land. Kirinyaga is giving about 240 acres of land. There are counties with 3,000 acres. There are counties with 500, 2,000, like Kipia.
We are able to aggregate what we produce. Like, for example, in my county, I have seen bananas rotting in the farms, simply because our farmers are not getting good price, because of the brokers in between us, several brokers between the producer and the person who is putting the banana in their mouth. Even the technology to ripen the bananas using just natural gas. Our bananas fetch poor prices in the market just because we do not have that simple technology to make sure that you have uniformity in the bananas you're taking to the market. That is something we need to work on.
Many people migrate to Nairobi because such opportunities are not there. Trying to transfer what is here, taking it to counties and making it sprout and germinate for our people is the essence of devolution. We should not just devolve services, we should devolve employment in the private and public sector. We should devolve opportunities. And as we take home what we have learned here, we really want to encourage investors to also join us in the counties.
If we as counties take this to our counties, we are going to create a lot of job opportunities for young people and just create small industries.
What we are going to do from here is to come in smaller groups, say from counties, because every county has its own needs. So we'll ensure that, for example, if it's Bungoma, we come with a smaller group and identify especially exactly which areas we want to concentrate on, focus on, so that we go ahead.
The Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council has launched its East and Central Africa Hub in Nairobi with Equity Group as its anchor partner. The council will work closely with Equity Group to put in place initiatives that will encourage international investors and partners to capitalize on the opportunities arising from the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
We'll take advantage of this global reset. We'll take advantage of this reorganization of the world so that we have a presence, we have a voice, and we have economic interests. Equity has seeded the plan with $6 billion That's about 750 billion Kenya shillings.
You are coming to Kenya at a time when we are really taking seriously the issue of making Kenya the choice destination for investment and the best place to do business. We are putting up in every county an industrial park for aggregation and manufacturing in every county.
Our job is to make you see beyond your countries that there is a bigger market out there and that is open and ready for you to work with and to trade with.
Now, still on trade, intra-commerce trade is at a paltry 10% of its potential, mainly due to anti-competitive conduct that is stifling innovation and preventing startups from scaling their operations. Betty Kiptum spoke with Dr. Willard Mwemba, the Chief Executive Officer of the Commerce Competition Commission, on a role that competition laws could play to unlock regional trade.
Hello and thank you for watching KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. We are in Mauritius, where the Commerce Competition Commission has been briefing journalists on the importance of competition laws in ensuring that markets remain open and competitive. And to just dig deeper into this conversation is Dr. Willard Mwemba. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Commerce Competition Commission. And now, Dr. Willard, thank you very much for speaking with us and joining us here on KBC Channel 1. We could start with an overview of why competition laws are very important in the markets.
Thank you very much for having me, Betty. And obviously, it is very, apart from the job that we are doing and the press conference, it's very relaxing to be in Mauritius, right? A very beautiful island, I should say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but coming to the main business and the question that you are asking, why are competition laws important? Competition laws, I should say, Betty, are among the most important business laws, if I may use that, because they regulate the very conduct of businesses, which conduct, if not regulated, may lead to the economic collapse of a nation, and which conduct, if well regulated, may result in economic development of a nation. So competition authorities are there to act as a referee. They are not there, as most people think or tend to believe, that competition authorities are there to become enemies of business, always telling business, don't do this, don't do this. No. Mm-hmm. They are actually there to become a referee, and their mandate is to be fair to whoever is in the market and whoever has the potential to enter into the market. And therein comes the point I told you, that if we don't have this referee, it can result in the economic collapse of a certain country or a certain industry. There is a referee, which are these competition laws and competition authorities. They'll make sure that they create fairness, and these guys, especially big guys who may want to behave in a fashion that would be difficult for smaller guys to compete, they will not behave in that fashion. So these smaller guys will also be given an opportunity to grow just like them, and there will be an opportunity even for you and I, who will say, well, that market looks good. I think I can also participate in that market. Right. No one will stop me from entering that market. The conduct by those guys who are already in that market is not detrimental to me. Right. It just depends on my innovation, but my being innovative to enter into that market. And with that, the analogy of it may build a nation. You have so many industries being created, so many jobs. So that is the importance of competition laws.
That's a very beautiful scenario that you've set up there. But the reality on the ground is that sometimes the big boys want to gobble up the small boys so that they can have the market all to themselves.
Yes.
Africa has been focusing on increasing its intra-African trade, which has been low for the longest time. How are competition laws enabling this to happen, and why is the process so slow still?
It's a very important question as well, and there your observations are very right, that the intra-Africa trade and intra-COMESA trade itself, the 21 countries, it's not as impressive as we would want it to be. And there are a number of reasons, Betty, because to enhance trade, you need to eliminate or reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers. You need to come up with common standards, for example. You need to come up with sometimes what may be called an FTA, free trade area, customs. So there are a number of issues. But most of these issues, the responsibility to ensure that they are addressed is by our governments, right? So they are a policy issue. But there is also an issue of our companies operating in that market. They're very same companies, okay? Because why we want intra-Africa trade, in fact, we should first understand that rationale, is that we want the citizens of COMESA to benefit. So the more we have trade, if Zambia and Kenya are trading more, if Kenya and Tunisia are trading more, if Egypt and Malawi are trading more, then we are benefiting our citizens, because our citizens would have an opportunity to sample the products that are produced in Egypt that may not be produced in Malawi. Egypt would have an opportunity to sample the good tea that is produced in Malawi that is not in Egypt. So the citizens benefit. But our business, those businesses that are supposed to make sure that this trade runs, those businesses for whom these policies have been relaxed, they become selfish. They become very greedy. So it is only me from Malawi, me alone, that should have an access to the Egyptian market. It is only me, in fact, in the worst case scenario, the Egyptian market, who does not even have a competitive advantage in tea production, that should sell to the Egyptian consumer or not allow the Malawian guy to enter. And because of that, it begins to frustrate, it begins to constrict, it begins to shrink trade amongst ourselves. So businesses engage in conduct, even when governments have said these are the policies that will have to ensure free trade. We've removed tariffs, or we've reduced this. We've done A, B, C, D. Businesses come and take advantage of that and say all these benefits should just come to me. And as a result, trade is still frustrating. That's why you find that even with these good policies, at least, of course, in addition to so many other factors, but for today we're talking about competition, even with these good policies on paper and sometimes even in fact, business conduct itself frustrates the movement of goods from one country to another to the benefit of selfish businesses. And that's not what we want, and that's why competition laws become very critical, especially at regional level, where it will be very easy to apply this competition law with overarching jurisdiction in all the member states, because the Kenyan Competition Act will have serious challenges to address the behavior of this Egyptian company that is frustrating Kenyan companies from entering into Egypt. That is frustrating Kenyan companies from taking advantage and taking advantage, using that opportunity created by governments by eliminating barriers to trade. That company that wants to seize that opportunity would be frustrated by that Egyptian company, who would make it very difficult for the Kenyan company to establish themselves there. That Egyptian company would, it's highly unlikely that will be subject to Kenyan law. So that's where regional laws also become important, because this regional law, which has been agreed upon by the member states, would have jurisdiction in all these countries, and it will be able to go to that Egyptian company and say, you can't do this. This Kenyan company, as long as it has the requirements met, it has the technical know-how, it should be able to enter the market.
Right. Yeah. And of course, beyond the business not entering the new market, there are other repercussions to it.
Yes.
There are impacts to consumers.
Yes.
There are also impacts to governments. Could you take us through that?
The impact, in fact, when you say impact to governments, Betty, you're just hitting the nail on the head. And I want to take my time here. Usually, these businesses, what they do is they would go to senior government officials, and they'll tell the senior government officials that, look, the behavior of this competition authority is detrimental to your agenda of growing the economy. So they will use that narrative, and the government will say, what do you mean? Yes, because of all these regulations and all this enforcement, they are frustrating us to operate in the market. And if the government is not aware, sometimes rightly so, we are not, there is no monopoly of knowledge. So we don't know, it's not every time that we know everything. And usually senior government officials, it's at high police level, so they may not understand the nitty-gritties down there. So sometimes there may be a temptation to listen to these business guys, and you start picking calls and phoning the competition authority. What is this that I've heard? That becomes detrimental, because in the short run, Betty, that company that is complaining because it doesn't want competition, in the short run, it will appear to be doing very well. And the government may be happy, and they'll be saying, these are things we are talking about. You see, the competition authority is frustrating business in the first place. But in the long run, then the true picture will come. Because in the long run, that company, all the proceeds and the profits it's making are not for the consumer. they are for its own benefit. It will never think about the consumer, never. And especially that it knows that there are no other players. It has managed to enclose and ring fence itself. No other company, when we're talking even at national level, let me talk about national level, not regional level here. No other company would enter that industry even within Kenya. It is alone. So all the profits that it makes will just put for itself. It doesn't care about the consumer. It doesn't care about having a good price for the consumer in order to improve their welfare. It's only about itself. Then the next thing is, as a result of that ring fencing, those companies won't enter. If they won't enter, it's the government responsibility to create jobs. And that's why I'm saying in the long run, the government would not see what the picture would be. Because in the long run, if you only have this one company that you've protected, you only have 200 jobs time on and on time infinity. But the more companies come in to compete and operate in this market, they also create opportunities for other people to get into jobs. They create opportunities for other related businesses, right? So if you're a beer producer, you create an opportunity for those who grow corn, those who grow barley, those who grow sorghum. So it is a chain that you create, and you create jobs like that. You create taxes for government like that. And in the long run, the government benefits because it has a thriving industry. So in the short run, they may not see that. And that's why it is very important, Betty, very, very important that government understand these things, and that competition laws were actually created or passed indeed to support government policy. So for the consumer, if you only have one, if you only have one company, or a few companies, they are so much in a comfort zone that they will not care about after-sales service. They will not care about the price to which they are selling the products to you. They will not care about the quality to which of the products they are selling to you, because they know you have no option. But where they know that there are so many other companies doing this, you will see the aggressive competition between themselves, which ultimately benefits you, the consumer. So for example, others will engage in after-sales service. They will tell you, oh, if you bought my car, for example, my brand new car from Toyota, the first 1 year to be free service, because they know that BMW or Isuzu or what also have good cars, they also have good services. But how do I attract those consumers of Isuzu to Toyota? I'll give them an after-sales service. So the first 1 year, you come for service free of charge. You give a number of these services that benefit the consumer, which will never be there, betting if that company was operating alone, because they'll have no one to compete with and they simply don't care.
So as we come to a close of this conversation, what is your hope for the markets of Africa, and specifically the COMESA region? And while at it, speak towards consumer awareness.
Look at the United States of America. I think it's one of the good examples where commerce and businesses have done so well. That's why you have most of these giants from there. Whether you talk about Apple, you talk about Google, you talk about Microsoft, you talk about all these Facebook, all these giants have come from there. You know how they came to be a betting. This is why competition law, of course, it was born in Canada in 1889. Americans followed in 1890, but that's why largely competition law started from there, because they had these monopolies there as well. They had these companies that were excessively pricing and exploiting consumers, companies like Standard Oil. Then the Americans realized and said, Canadians, of course, then the Americans, and said, look, we will never grow like this. It means we'll only have Standard Oil, and it was in almost all businesses, not just oil. What do? We need to regulate the behavior of Standard Oil and make the environment fair for everyone to compete. And that is how business started booming in America. And you see where they are today. That was in 1890, but you see where they are today. So Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and all those they were not born by accident. They were deliberate policies and consistency in the application of those policies. That's what I want to see in Africa. I want to see consistency in the application of these policies that create a fair playing field for all companies. I want companies and a market where entry should be based on my thinking and not on what another person is going to dictate to me. And by another person, I mean another business person. That's what I want to see. I want to see an Africa, and I hope I see this in my lifetime, this vision. I want to see an Africa where we have companies that would have thrived and would be so proud to talk about them when you're in the United States of America. When they talk about Apple, you also, and Kenya is doing very well, by the way. We have quite some good companies that we are proud of in Kenya. Safaricom is one company that we are so proud of. Jumia, I don't know if it's a Kenyan company, but it sounds Kenyan.
It's not Kenyan, but it has a very big presence in Kenya.
So it's those companies that we are very proud of. We want to see more so that one day when we're in America, when someone is talking about Apple, I'll also be talking about Safaricom. That is my dream. That is my vision.
Thank you very much, Daktari, for speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Betty, and I hope you enjoy a little bit of the remaining hours that you have in Mauritius to go around.
I have been talking with Dr. Willard Mwemba. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the COMESA Competition Commission. We have talked a lot on matters competition laws and how they are important in enhancing the markets to ensure that consumers are thriving and businesses are also thriving and growing. My name is Betty Kiptum, signing out from the beautiful island of Mauritius. Goodbye.
Now, from the island in Mauritius, we want to take you down to Kilifi and specifically in Watamu. The reason why you have to head to Watamu in Kilifi County is if you find watching dolphins exciting. Now, the dolphins are sociable, playful, and curious creatures that get along well with humans. So tonight on Magical Scenes, we highlight the attractions in Watamu.
Dolphins are one of the key attractions in Watamu, Kilifi County. The adorable creatures are once again gracing the cool waters of Kenya's Indian Ocean. The months of November to April are considered ideal for dolphin spotting in Watamu. You see, the dolphins are intelligent creatures, energetic and playful, especially when the skies are blue. Dolphins generally communicate with each other while playing by producing whistles. The creature's adaptations have allowed for each dolphin to have a distinct whistle that distinguishes it from other members of its society. Watamu is that sanctuary for dolphin families in Kenya. A boat ride from the Watamu beach line to the marine and protected areas by the Kenya Wildlife Service would luckily lead you to such spectacles. There are 3 species of dolphins that you can see in Watamu: Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, the rare Indo-Pacific humpback, and the offshore spinner dolphins. The protected areas are also home to a number of undersea life, including the barracuda fish. Nevertheless, the beauty of Watamu does not stop with undersea life. One can engage in swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving, beach walks, and sand bathing.
Birds within the fish that we can see from just here on the deck, and it's like a boat deck but on land. This is most beautiful for those who I like the sea, but some it is perfect.
I love Kenya. I come here 4 months of the year and I love it. I came here the first time because somebody told us about this place.
And so, for a moment to remember, why don't you consider Watamu for a visit? Irene Mchuma Odim, Magical Sense.
Now, just this week, the Ministry of Tourism released the performance of the Sector 2022 and noted that Kenya hosted 1.4 million tourists in the year ended 2022, that is December. And now we target to host at least 2.3 million visitors by the end of 2023. Let's hope that we remain as peaceful and calm as we are, and offer more attractions so that we can get that much needed foreign exchange revenue. Now, we'll be speaking sports in not too long, and Nairobi especially is going to be playing host to over 1,500 athletes. Sports tourism, eh? That is Daniel Wahome, who is going to be coming up with the day's sports. We take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
I'm Marie Yangbo here in the southern part of the country in Oloitoktok, where, as you can see, farmers have lost their crops to the ongoing drought. Some families are even feeling the pressure to marry off their girls for an income. That story coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome. Let's get the sport. Over 1,500 athletes have confirmed their participation in the second Athletics Kenya Track and Field Weekend Meet, which will be held tomorrow and Saturday at the Manyara National Stadium in Nairobi. AK has entered the meet to the World Athletics Competition ranking. Hence, the results, which will be posted by the athletes, will be used by World Athletics for statistical purposes.
All athletes not included in the Athletes Integrity Unit and Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya testing pool will be subjected to tests before competing. The meet will feature sprint events, middle distance and long distance races, as well as field events among them javelin, discus, hammer throw, long jump, high jump and triple jump for both men and women, as well as the 20K race and race walk for both genders.
This weekend and the nationals are the ones that now our athletes who have not qualified for major championship like world championship this year, and also maybe if we were going to have a senior championship, we could have used that. Is that it is rated as the qualifying event. We intend to select a team that will represent Kenya in Dar es Salaam for the under-18, under-20 championships.
Your track, the men's 3,000 meters.
Meanwhile, Amos Bet clocked a personal best of 7 minutes, 42.53 seconds to win the men's 3,000 meters at the Madrid World Indoor Tour in Spain. He was followed by Bahrain's Birhanu Balu as Dutchman Tim Verbandet took the third position. Nora Mwangi for Prime Edition.
So 2 days of explosive action at the Manyara National Stadium, including Ferdinando Manyara running in his first event on Kenyan soil this year. Now moving on to football, where Kariobangi Sharks will host Sofapaka at the Kasarani Annex in the only FKF Premier League match to be played tomorrow, which will kickstart the weekend round of 17 of the 2022-2023 season. Sofapaka and Sharks sit 12th and 13th on the table with 18 and 17 points respectively after a poor start to the season that has seen the two sides win just 4 and 3 matches respectively. Sofapaka will be going for 3 points to move up to 10th position above Bandari FC, while maximum points for Sharks will move them up to 11th position above Posta Rangers. All the other 16 teams will be in action over the weekend, with Big Guns Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards playing Police and KCB respectively. And on to basketball, where the 2023 edition of the Red Bull Half-Court Basketball Tournament is set to start on the 1st of April, with the first qualifier taking place at the Aga Khan grounds in Mombasa. The annual tournament will see the qualifiers played in 4 major towns. Qualified teams will then square it at the Nairobi finals, set to take place on the 27th of May at the USIU grounds. The winning team, both male and female, will represent the country in the World Finals in Belgrade, Serbia. The 2023 edition will see the addition of an Eldoret qualifier, with the City of Champions set to host the qualifiers on the 15th of April. Kisumu qualifiers will be played on the 29th of April, while the Nairobi qualifiers will be played on the 20th of May.
All the way through 21. Which one? 19 points.
Striker Romelu Lukaku scored the only goal as Inter Milan narrowly beat Porto by a goal to nil at the San Siro in their first leg of the UEFA Champions League last 16 match. A total of 8 Europa League second leg matches are on the cards tonight, with the biggest one pitting Manchester United and Barcelona.
Yeah, just loitering, rolling it forward. Very nicely done. Great.
Inter Milan have an advantage in the UEFA Champions League.
Pause.
So that's the sport, and remember, this weekend Ferdinand Manyara will be at the Manyara National Stadium. So, and going by what we saw last year, where there were 18 hits in the 100 meters, there's going to be a lot of sensational running tomorrow in the 100-meter hits, considering we've got 1,525 athletes for that athletics meet.
It will be quite interesting to watch Manyara perform on Kenyan soil for the first time in 2023. As they say, he's the fastest man in Africa.
He is the fastest man, and also he's been setting the national record, breaking the national record for fun, and that was at the World Athletics Indoor Tours. He was mainly running in France.
Now we are hoping that Manchester United actually can hold Barcelona. Well, let's see. We wait and see. Us of Manchester United, well,
the first leg ended 2-2. It was one of the best matches that I've seen. End-to-end football over 90 minutes. But tonight, like they say, mbivu na mbichi zitajulikana.
Arsenal speaking from the other side by head. Okay, that puts a cap on Matters in Prime Edition tonight. Thank you very much for keeping us company. I've been your host, Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant evening ahead, while our colleague on sign language has been none other than Lady Lucy Mwaura.
My name is Daniel Ohome, and on behalf of the team that put this bulletin together, thank you very much. And most importantly, you, the viewer, have a good night.